Let's talk about before prime. I feel like there is, and it really just goes to show the ignorance of some of the stuff that you see on social media.
Tyler, I'm sorry, I can't hear you, brother.
You can't hear me?
1 second.
Okay.
I think I lost audio on you. You were talking, but I can't hear you.
Still can't hear me?
So let me
Can't hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you. That's funny. I'm not sure what just happened.
Let's see.
I tell you, I know this is live. Do you think? Oh, man, I don't know what to do.
You still
tap out and come back in.
Yeah, try that.
All right, 1 second.
Okay. Little technical difficulties. This is a part of podcasting though, so it's all good. All good. I actually forgot to start the live stream when I started. We just got in talking again. I'm fresh off work, so I'm tired. But forgive me. We're gonna see if we can get it cracking.
You now.
You can hear me?
I don't know what just happened, but yeah, I'm sorry about that.
All good, all good. So everything good.
You rocking and rolling. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hey, technology, man. Y'all got to forgive us, man. It's all right.
It's a part of it. I was just telling them, I actually scheduled this to start filming, and I just realized that I wasn't filming when I asked you the first question. So,
all right, man. It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good.
Let's get it. It's a part of it.
Yeah, but, man.
I think I was asking you about before prime. So when you read some of the comments that you see on social media, you can tell that people aren't really ingratiated with the HBCU culture, and not even just the HBCU culture in general, but you can just tell based on some of the comments that you read that, there's a lot of misconceptions and just a lot of lack of awareness and just a lot of lack of tact also, I would say. So before prime, just kind of educate these people who just think that the huge crowds and people just started packing the vet now that prime is here, but don't understand that before prime, the vet was always rocking.
Man, we have a slogan that our AD puts in front of everybody every time he has a chance, and it's building on tradition and blazing new trails. So the blazing new trails part is for the newcomers. And we're looking to carve out a new lane and be trendsetters, as you've seen us do with, bringing Coach Prime to the SWAC and giving them the opportunity to coach our Tigers. But prior to that, we're building on tradition. Jackson State is rich in tradition. I mean, we've been the creme de la creme, and there's a lot of pride when it comes to HBCUs. Anytime you're speaking about your HBCU, if someone from another historically black college and university hear that, they may feel some type of way, but all those things can be true at the same time. It's not that when we're telling our story that we're not slighting anyone, but the numbers are what they are. There's a statistic that we put out on the 1400 Club social media page that said in 2019 we had several FBS programs that we outdrew from an attendance standpoint. We historically are always putting anywhere from 30 to 35K, in home games. We have the fortune to, and then when we smack talking, we play at what we call the Vet. That's Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. We've been playing at the Vet all my life. The Vet has been there since the 50s and 60s, man, when Ole Miss and Mississippi State played the Egg Bowl in Jackson, right? Mm-hmm. So in 2011, we were given full ownership of the stadium, and it's Jackson State's home, and we've always played there. So when people talk smack about us not having an on-campus stadium, man, we don't care about that. The Vet is what we do, So we're fortunate enough to have a stadium that seats up to 60K. So that's kind of an advantage versus most stadiums that may be on campus. But when you think about Jackson, man, Jackson is we kind of we sometimes feel like the disrespected, the forgotten about, a group of people. We're from Mississippi. We don't have any professional teams, man. We don't have any professional sports teams at all. And Jackson State is Jackson. So when people say it's not an on-campus, we don't have an on-campus stadium. The vet is in Jackson, and Jackson State is Jackson. So when Jackson State is winning and it's up, anybody that's of my generation, that's in their late 30s and early 40s and even 50s, can attest to, man, when Jackson State is winning, man, there's no better ticket in town, So when you go all the way back to I think what we've seen this year it mirrors when Steve McNair was playing at Alcorn. We had that Capital City Classic, and you go back and look at some of those films, man. You saw it was standing room only. You know what I mean? And it was. I remember growing up in those crowds and seeing some of the late greats, not late greats, but some of the previous football greats that played in the Jackson State uniform. And this is what we normally did. And let's make no mistake about it. It ain't always been about football. We got the best band in the land, man. We got the Sonny Boom of the South, and there's a lot of people come to the games to see the Sonny Boom, man. And when you have a good product on the field and you got the boom, oh man, it's magical. And that's what you've seen this year. When you add that prime effect, when you add that vested interest, and that's why it's an amazing partnership with Coach Prime and his big brand. And you take a big blue blood brands like a Jackson State University. Jackson State is one of one. Nobody can do what we can do. We stand on that. Nobody can do. And people, they can say what they say. If you're not packing out your stadiums and you're not having sellouts. If we had the size of the stadium of any other stadium on campus, we'd sell it out every game. Every home game would be a sellout. So to be able to provide those kind of numbers, and then you bring the magnitude of a Coach Prime with his audience and those that followed him, man, it was just magical, because now you got a lot of people that's taking notice that never knew anything about it. And let me say this one last thing. There's a lot of things that's phenomenally happening today that neither you nor I know about. But if the right amount of attention gets put on it, then we're gonna be like, man, that's pretty awesome. So I always find it comical when people got to tread lightly when they jumping into this HBCU ranks, man, trying to give their input, because there's a lot of pride and rich tradition, and we're historically Black colleges and universities. We was founded on the struggle, man. We was founded on, we've always been the have-not. So to get some of what we've always felt like we deserve, it's our time now, man, and we're gonna relish in it.
Definitely. I think a lot of the commentary that you saw yesterday, and we're gonna jump into what made yesterday so historic. But I think some of the things that bothered me about some of the comments that I saw yesterday, it was some of us. And I'll just be clear, like, I went to Tougaloo and I went to Ole Miss. So I got the best of both worlds, I would say.
Right.
But it's not lost on me what Tougaloo means to Black folks.
Oh,
you
man.
Know what I'm saying? It's not
absolutely,
lost on me.
Man.
And the thing is, my uncle played football at Ole Miss. My uncle also played in the NFL. But my uncle would tell you what's going on at Jackson State right now is historic, So when you see Black folks that attend PWIs talking about he only came because of the NIL money, and he hasn't even gotten any NIL money yet. But
matter of fact, he can't, and not in the state of Mississippi. Without being enrolled, you can't sign an NIL deal. So that's just, we debunk that anyway.
Exactly. So that's it was disturbing. You would think everyone would come together for something like this, being how monumental yesterday was. But just to get back to your original point, because we're gonna come back there. I think with Prime being in Jackson now, I think what really caught my attention was that this is now a holistic type of thing. So Jackson is going to benefit, but My thing is, and like you said, in regards to there's things happening that we don't even know about, and you're just hoping that, like the mayor, like everyone, Prime has just changed everything in the state of Mississippi and Jackson specifically. Being that we're from Jackson, I care specifically about Jackson. I want Jackson to be what I know it can be,
Right.
So I think what makes the move so monumental is that now there's a certain level of accountability for everyone in Jackson. So
Got to
President
level up.
Hudson, AD, Mayor Lumumba, the businesses, everyone in Jackson is now held to a higher standard with just his presence being there. And I just think that that's profound.
I'll say this, man. When Coach Prime had his press conference and he was the first day when he was introduced to Jackson, I'll say, I was actually living in Austin, Texas at the time. I jumped in the car. I drove home. I wanted to be there. I had to be there because this was special, man. And for those of us who have followed, when I lived in Jackson, I didn't miss a game, even through the Coach Bell era. When it was hard to go to games, man, I was still in section 112 holding it down, right? Yeah. But when we fast forward and we get to a point where it's like, man, this is unbelievable. I wanted to be there. It didn't matter. I short notice, I jumped in the car, I got there, right? So one of the things that was pretty cool when Coach Prime was hired was that all of the organizations from the university, there were different political figures in the city that all had an opportunity to go in and sit down and meet with Coach Prime. 1400 Klub was one of the last to go in, and it was we were fortunate enough to have a seat at the table to meet with Coach Prime and hear how his vision. He heard out what we were trying to do and charged us with some things that he wanted to see take place. And I have to say this, man, that I was very impressed just with the presence of Coach Prime because he was very intense. He was very matter of fact and intentional about what he was saying. And it just made you feel like you needed to elevate and level up just being around it. So you spot on, man. And when we're talking about Coach Prime being in the SWAC, the thing I love the most about yesterday is because when it first happened, we got a lot of hate, man. It was a lot of haters. And we're not going to focus on the haters like we used to. And I used to get frustrated when I thought about it. But at the same time, it's like, no, it comes with the territory. If you don't have haters and if you're not making no noise, if you do what people expect you to do, nobody's going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. That's why what happened yesterday was so phenomenal. Just like it mirrored Coach Prime actually coming to HBCU. But what people don't want to talk about is that prior to him being given an opportunity at Jackson State, he had other opportunities for people to hire him, and they chose not to. So the point I'm making is that when you bring this level of talent, and you bring a person of that stature into the city, it forces all of us. We all got a responsibility and a job to do better. And I text a friend after, we got the news from the big recruit. I say, man, we got to do right by these kids, man. We actually got to make sure we protect these boys, man. Because we know what goes on in our city. We love our city. My whole entire family still lives there. It's still home. It always and forever will be. My daughter's there. So trust me, I have a vested interest. My oldest daughter is going to be enrolled in Jackson State next year, even though she's out in California with me now. But the biggest thing is this. I just think that there is a responsibility. And like you just said, we can get lost in that, man, because honestly, when we're talking about it is a lot of us. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about PWIs and that. We have a history as Black folk. It just be cornbread since we rapping. We got to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Where white acceptance has become the stand, like something that we've achieved, we've strived for.
Absolutely.
When we understand, we did a show on Tiger Talk with the 1400 Klub, myself, Shaq, and Zoe. We called Coach Prime Paradigm Prime, and we highlighted how prior to Sam Bam Cunningham, who was a running back at USC, prior to him coming down and they're playing against the Alabama Crimson Tide with Coach Bear Bryant, there were no African American players playing in the SEC at that time. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of history behind why Bear Bryant scheduled that game, because he wanted to show the the white folk in the South that the black athlete, there's something there. And if we want to compete and stay on top, we got to go get the black athlete. So what happened is, the long story short, the HBCUs was basically, I would say, seduced for their great talent, and in return, we got nothing. We got nothing. We would so after we were allowed to, to enroll in those universities, we no longer valued our universities as much as we should. So there's a sector amongst us. They say all skin folk ain't skin folk, right? There's a sector of us that holds dearly to their PWI. And listen, if you can get you get education, by all means, do what you do. But at the same time, there's a lot of us who, as long as that is the standard, then they have a seat because they have that degree from that university. But when you start elevating HBCUs, see, one thing that comes with the HBCUs is culture. You can't buy the culture, man. You're either part of it or you're not. So what you'll see happening is you'll see a lot of them tend to kind of water it down and try to belittle it because they never really had that experience. Instead of just saying, hey, man, I'm happy for you guys and moving on. You've seen a lot of us out there leading the charge, man. And I'm going to stop right there. If we go into the history, man, all the way back to the slave plantations, it's always been that way. There's always been, those that group that wanted to keep things, I would say, status quo.
Definitely. And I think that is if you also look at the things that's been going on in our country, you can attribute it to NIL and things like that. But I think now these kids are growing up in a more culturally sound background. I think for us and for me specifically, so I'm 31. Trayvon Martin for me was my reckoning with the world. Like I always tell my parents, they did a good job of shielding me from the world. And what I mean by that is that, as parents, and you're a parent, you're a nurturer, you're a protector. You're going to do everything in your power to protect your daughter from the world, everything that's happening in the world. But I think these kids are growing up now, they are seeing Black death, on social media. Like they're seeing Black death across the news. So they are seeing it a lot earlier than I did. So now I feel like when you have more culturally sound, culturally conscious parents, these parents now are starting to instill, and really you have to teach your children now early about, interactions with the police, being in certain parts of certain countries and stuff like that, just because of the type of things that can come their way. For me, Trayvon Martin was like my reckoning to like, oh, well, this is really happening. But these kids today, they've seen George Floyd, they've seen Eric Garner,
Orlando Castillo, the list goes on and on. Samir Rice, yeah.
Like they are seeing this. So now I think they are able to make the decisions and they are able to see things with like, okay, well, they're treating me a certain type of way because I have athletic ability. But what if I didn't have this athletic ability? That athletic ability that makes me one of one, that kind of puts me in a different type of category to where, and just depending on where you are. These athletes aren't exempt from that. You can thinking about Sterling Brown when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks and what happened to him. But with these young athletes now, they are more aware of the things that's happening around them, and some of them are bucking the system. And I think that's a perfect segue to what Travis Hunter did yesterday. So for those who might not know, if you're living under a rock, you shouldn't be. Travis Hunter is the number one football prospect in the country, and he committed to Jackson State University on yesterday. And it just turned the world upside down. So where
exposed a lot of truth too.
Yeah. Where were you when you heard that he was committing, and what did you what did you think about the commitment when you heard it?
First things first is the day before there was an audio put out of Coach Prime to Barstool when Coach Prime said when he made it, he's very matter of fact that we're gonna shock the world. I said, "Oh my gosh, man!" Because you remember, if you go back to it, Travis Hunter, he did do a actual visit to Jackson State. Think about this, man. He actually had, and when you're doing official visits, the kids get to decide. You can only go on so many, so they have to choose where they're going to actually take their official visit. To Sean and Alabama, with all due respect, we know Alabama is that Coach Saban and Coach Prime are Affleck, they Affleck brothers, you know what I'm saying? So we and that's my favorite coach outside of Coach Prime. I love Coach Saban, so with all due respect, but really, man, when he said that, I'm like, man. And then I had one of my 1400 Club brothers had texted me. He's like, man, you ready for us to sign Travis Hunter tomorrow? I said, I've kind of been like, man. I said, dude, if we sign Travis Hunter, you know what I mean? I said, man, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go crazy, right? So I watched the video, and it's like, man, it's late. It's like 11 o'clock. And I'm like, man. So I set my alarm because, I'm on the West Coast. So I said, let me say I'm 2 hours behind everybody. So I said, well, let me set my alarm for 4. I'm getting up early, right?
Yeah.
And we have a chat, amongst the group of us that on the podcast that we talk and everything. And man, when we started sending those, different little and we follow, Steve Wilfong, who covers 247 Sports.
Mm-hmm.
When we start seeing the sources are saying, and somebody say, "Oh man, he done wiped his," I said, "I'm like Fred Sanford. Oh, Elizabeth, this is too big." I said, "Man, this dude's fine." Listen to me, man. Listen to me. When I saw it hit Bleacher Report, I ain't gonna lie. I be lying. I'm not kidding, man. Bro, I got emotional, man.
Yeah.
To see Jackson State on Bleacher Report and ESPN flashing across my cell phone saying JSU just signed the #1 recruit. I was like, this is somebody pinch me, bro. This ain't happening right now. So, and I'm saying that because if you go back, man, to the show, we did a recruiting show. Corey had Coach Otis, the director of player personnel for our Jackson State Tigers, Coach Otis Ridley. We had him on the show. Man, he called it. It was, if you go back to it, February the 4th, he spoke about we had a monumental class in 2021. He was expecting class of 2022 to be elevated. He said, Jackson State's going to sign a 5-star. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it. He said, I feel like we're going to do it in the 2022 class. And I'm just like, we had another show regarding the paradigm shift and how we needed to have not just any player. I said, it's got to be, because when Shador signs, and K-Tron signs, these are 4-stars. And they say, well, that's his son. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we got to get that. If we get that 5-star, it's going to change the game. And when we saw it, and not just, that's typical Coach Prime, though. He don't go get a 5-star. He go get the guy. I was just like, this is unbelievable. So the whole time you traveling through the airport, you got on your Jackson State gear. Everybody's like, in contrast to what we talked about in regards to those that might have been down on that, I was telling a friend today, there was a sense of pride, man, that I saw amongst us as well. As we walking through as I'm navigating the different airports, people are looking at me like, bro, I like what y'all did, man. That's big time. So people were walking tall, and I saw a guy with his Michigan State. Everybody's noticing Jackson State. It's different, man. So I one last thing. I'm in the car, man. It's official. And I'm trying to call my boy Shaq, man, and so my podcast buddies, and man, I was like Kevin Garnett on the phone. He's like, anything's possible. Yeah. I was screaming and hollering like, man, let's go. My throat hurting, man. I just, and then when we watched the IG live, I actually watched his IG live and see him throw that hat to his mom and put that J on, man. I got goosebumps, bro.
Wow.
He opened that shirt and had the I believe. I was emotional, man. I said, this is all we've ever wanted. We've always wanted to be a part of it, man. We wanted he leveling the playing field like he said he would. So phenomenal day for the JSU Tigers, man. It's a great day to be a Tiger, always, but boy, it's definitely a great day now, man.
Absolutely. All right, so now we got to talk about the aftermath. We don't have to address all the negativity, but I think you just knew that it was coming. Like, you see all the negative. I can't believe that dude. I know you saw it too. I can't believe that dude
burned the jersey.
Coach Prime's jersey.
I called him an idiot. Man, I was like, dude, you just threw away like $1 million, bro. That's a signed Deion Sanders jersey. Bro, Travis Hunter is still going to Jackson State.
Right.
You threw your bag away. Hey,
when
man.
I saw it, I was like, and I commented on it. Like, I put the face palm emoji. I was like, you didn't do that. That was hard. That was hard to process right there, man. Man.
God, signed Florida State number 2 Deion Sanders jersey. I'm like, Coach Prime is hot right now. He hot. He's lava hot right now. And you throw that away. I'm like, man, you're gonna feel real dumb tomorrow, bro. Or next week, it'll hit you.
It's never that serious. And if it is, you need to seek some mental help, because that ain't it. That ain't it.
Well, what I'll say about that real quick, man, about that is that when people have never been marginalized and they've never, there are people that don't have no frame of reference of what it's like to be discriminated against. You know, what it's like. Imagine, you know, and I work in corporate America and I have a boss that's talking about branding. And I don't have to tell you, I don't have to go no further than that. And I'm sitting there looking like, you see my face? There's certain things I can't do. Exactly. When I walk in the room, I gotta be on point. Exactly. You know what I mean? Because we don't get the same luxuries, and that's the thing that some people just don't have a frame of reference of. They don't. Things is status quo, and the norm is the HBCUs get the scrapplings, and the big boys get to play at the big party. And we like the pickaninnies that's sitting over there looking in the fist. We just want a glimpse of the big party. And finally, we got money now, and you know we coming in with the swag. We got the fitted suits on, and they like, who are these folks? You know what I mean? Right. They feeling some type of way right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like they try to make it seem like Jackson State don't belong. You know what I'm saying? And I think like I said, we don't have to address the negativity because enough of that is out there. But I just I was looking at Light On Sports, and he probably don't even listen to this, but whoever Light On Sports is.
Oh, I do.
Twitter,
Instagram, Jonathan Dobbins, Light On Sports. We had him on the show.
Okay,
phenomenal. Cool. He is let me shout out Jonathan, man. He's a humble young kid, man. He graduated from Jacksonville State, and he is adamant about telling the FCS story. He is a big promoter of FCS, and I really told him last night, because I sent him a couple of recruits that I saw that he didn't feature, and I want to see these guys, man, eat, man. All the social media content creators, podcasts, shows, the YouTube channels, man, it's time for us to eat, man. I mean, this is our arena. HBCUs is our playground, and anytime we can be able to support, man. But Jonathan Dobbins, Light On Sports, man, he on the money, man. Love his edit, and we told him that.
Definitely. Shout out to him, man, because I was just scrolling down his Twitter feed today, and I was just looking at all of the HBCU recruits, all of the guys that committed, transferred from other Power Fives. Like I saw a kid from Mississippi State is transferring
Mississippi
Valley.
Yeah, and man, shout out to Coach Vincent Dancy, man, alum of Jackson State. He is killing it. Shout out to Coach Maynard over at Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M, I put a tweet out saying, outside of Jackson State, I feel like Alabama A&M, and I'm going to throw Valley in there too. They won the day yesterday. Man. And what I wanted to say was, when we talked about getting hate when Coach Prime first got hired, we were saying that there's going to be an elevation across the board. Like we all going to benefit from it. And I don't think some of the schools really saw how it was going to happen. But I think today they see it now because I'm excited, man, about HBCU football next season. The commissioner is definitely getting us on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You get more exposure, and man, the gameplay is gonna get even better as the talent across the room gets even greater. So shout out to them, man. They did a phenomenal job in the team yesterday.
Exactly. I call it the prime effect. Like,
absolutely,
he has shifted like he damn near like Thanos for real.
Hey, he is, man. Hey, look, man, you got Coach Eddie George at Tennessee State, Coach Hugh Jackson now the head coach at Grambling.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. Hey, man, there's rumors of Ed Reed trying to get into coaching, Ray Lewis. Yeah. I mean, but Kevin Summerlin's trying to come. Man, HBC. All we needed a figure that didn't have anything to lose.
Exactly.
To take it on the chin for the culture, man. And Coach Prime, as he said, I'm here, I can hear you. He said, a big Power 5 job ain't really going to do nothing for him but pad his landing. It's not going to change his life. He's already set. But he's looking to try to, secure his coaches. But the point with that is this, man. If you bring all the big dogs to the conference and you make the HBCU arena the hottest ticket in town, he ain't going. Why are you going to go anywhere?
Exactly.
If you can get the dogs and bring them to the SWAC and elevate the play, hey, man, I want to see us elevate as a conference, man. I want the whole SWAC to move up to FBS. Why not?
Exactly.
How come we can't do it? We got the culture. Forget paying us we want that TV money, man. I understand you want to pay us to bring us there and beat our brains out and let us perform for you, at halftime. Forget all that. We want to be able to compete for real. Definitely. So we can get bowl berths and man, it's the sky's the limit. And don't say it can't be done because before yesterday, nobody would have ever thought for the first time ever a 5-star committed to the FCS program. Unbelievable.
Definitely. And like I said, that was actually going to be like my next question as far as everybody is leveling up. Everybody is they putting their best foot forward now because they know that they have to. Because if they don't, Prime just going to run away with this thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's been the best part that I've seen. Like, again, Coach Dancy is killing it. Like, he just been hitting that transfer portal hard. Like, I'm really excited for them for sure.
Man, Valley tough, man. You can ask Greg and Zoe, and they part of the 1400 Club. I have forwarded them every single commit from Mississippi Valley. I said, Valley gonna be tough, man.
Definitely.
Ben's doing his thing, dog. He's doing his thing. I'm excited for him because they always play us tough. But boy, that game just got a whole lot more interesting. It's going to be a whole lot more tougher. And I think the gameplay this past season, it was a dog fight. Mm-hmm. It was a dog fight, man. And I thought Valley won 4 games this season. I expect them to win at least 6 or 7 next year.
Definitely. Grambling, man. Hugh Jackson, he ain't playing. He hit the ground running. The backup quarterback for UCLA just committed to them.
4-star. Kid got a gun on him too, man. He got a rifle. He's a really good kid. I think he gonna be solid, man. He got a good tight spiral, man. He's accurate and he can move around. So he's a dual threat, but you got to respect his arm. And with an offensive mind like Coach Hugh Jackson, who's still in the process of filling out his staff. He just stole the defensive coordinator from Alcorn, but I ain't gonna say that.
I saw that. I was like, "Oh, that's wild."
Hey, Coach Thornton was like, "Hey, man, I'm about to go over here with Coach Hugh, man." So, hey, Grambling gonna be tough, man.
That's crazy.
I don't think we have them, but if we catch them, we have to catch them in like the SWAC championship next. I don't think we have them on the schedule for next year. But go ahead, I keep interrupting.
Oh, you good. So yeah. The reason why this was another thing that I was really curious to get your opinion about. I had tweeted Jim Nagy, and he's the director of the Senior Bowl. I tweeted him a few weeks back, and I was just wondering because I'm just steadily just scanning the landscape of college football and stuff. And I tweeted him probably like 2 or so weeks ago, but he didn't respond. And I think it's probably after the last it was after the Prairie View game. I tweeted him again, and I was just like, did any Jackson State players get an invite to the Senior Bowl? And his response threw me off. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but
I didn't like it, man.
And I'm not even looking at the tweet right now, but
I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, he was just kind of like, great job this year for Coach Prime, but as the program or something progresses, and I'm paraphrasing, he'll get some more draftable players.
That bothered me because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm probably, I guess you can call me the loudmouth or the controversial one from Tiger Talk. I try to tone it down, man. That Jacktown be just oozing out of it, man. And I didn't like the comment. I think I might have replied to it, but since that tweet though, I want to say this. I want to report this if you don't know just yet. Congratulations to our very own CJ Holmes and James Houston. They both got senior bowl invites.
Okay.
Today.
Now I saw Keontae. I didn't see.
Well, Keontae is going to the HBCU Legacy Bowl, which because one of the things with the COVID years, we don't really know who's leaving, who's staying, who has eligibility. I'm so confused on that. I'm just like, man, who we got? Who coming back? Who leaving? But kind of when they get
years, right? 23, 24.
I can't remember the number. It was something like that. But I think once they enter those bowls, it's kind of official. So to see James Houston, I was on a tangent. I just thought it was an absolute travesty that James Houston didn't get Defensive Player of the Year for the SWAC. And I have been following his stats and from the beginning, and I saw a couple of errors, even all the way back to the FAMU game. And I was like, man, I need y'all to correct these stats because I don't want it to get to the end of the season and this kid not get what get his just due. Mm-hmm. And no disrespect to Isaiah Land. I never want to, when I'm saying what James Houston did, I'm not slighting Isaiah Land.
Exactly.
I do know that Land played he played Fort Valley State. He had a really good game, had like 5 sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss. So his stats were kind of inflated because of that game. I ain't gonna say inflated. That's disrespectful, and I don't want to get in trouble with that. Yeah. I just think that James Houston had a phenomenal year. So congratulations to him. CJ been a pillar in the program, has stuck it out, had opportunities to hit the portal. He stayed with the new staff, with Coach Prime, and been a starter all year, a captain, a leader, Mm-hmm. And has played in a very tough position, man, in that slot. Because the slot position is the position that everybody goes to. So he got a lot of balls thrown at him. But overall, he didn't give up a whole lot, this season. So I'm so happy for him. I really wanted to see my boy Warren Newman get a chance to go. But for CJ and James Houston to get a chance to go, I'm truly proud that Jackson State will be represented at the Senior Bowl. So but in regards to his comments, I felt like it was a left-handed slight. It was much along the lines of the status quo. I do feel like a lot of these bowls and a lot of these awards and stuff like that is more catered towards the Power 5 or the Group of 5 or more FBS.
Absolutely.
And you got to just be absolutely phenomenal from an FCS program in order to get that invite. They do sprinkle a little FCS in there, but to insinuate that we didn't have draftable players was just asinine. I mean, it was lazy and it wasn't factually correct. And Coach Prime addressed it this morning on the show. And he said, when he talked about them saying that there's only like 6 draftable players out of the SWAC, which is just like he said, it's lazy. They're not watching. They're not really paying attention. And I think that's why we go so hard, man, because we feel like we've been disrespected. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I feel like every HB, and you know this because you went to Tougaloo, you went to Ole Miss. Man, we fight hard to get recognized. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Even in corporate America, man, you still gotta. Man, I tell anybody, don't you put your education next to Jackson State's degree. You can slide it if you want to, but man, we coming with it, man. We got everything you got and then some. So I think it's going to change. James Houston being a transfer from Florida. Keep this in mind, man. I was telling someone, James Houston played in the SEC championship game last season for Florida versus Alabama, had 8 tackles. The following season, he's playing for Jackson State and had one of the best seasons that we've seen in a very long time. So he's definitely draftable. And look at this, man. I don't know where they're going to draft him at. I don't know if they're going to do him at linebacker because he's played linebacker his entire college career. This is the first year that we put his hand in the dirt, played off the end. So wherever we got professional, NFL coaches on our staff. So if they put you, they're gonna put you in the best position where you can be successful. And look at what he did. So, so I think there's more Jim Nagy's out there. One of the comments we saw with some of the negativity was there's not going to be a lot of competition. That's also lazy because that tells me you're not paying attention to what's happening in the SWAC. You're not watching the games. Man, we got some really good talent, man. You know what I mean? In the SWAC championship, you had Jawan Pass versus Shador Sanders. We know Shador is a true freshman, but he's a 4-star kid that had 30 offers. Jawan Pass played at Louisville. Come on, man. You know what I mean? So, and not just he played at Louisville, and Prairie View had a lot of. You're gonna tell me Jason Dumas, that defensive lineman from Prairie View, can't? What? Come on, man.
He was an element.
You gonna tell me Jordan Lewis was Southern? You know, I know he's entered the portal, but I can go on and on and on and on. Jerry Gardner over in Mississippi Valley. Valley got NFL talent on their roster. Alabama, you tell me Akil Glass ain't a pro? Come on, man.
Crazy.
It was just a lazy comment, but I think it was more of, Dion went to little old Jackson State. Let's keep him.
Exactly.
Yeah. But now Dion said, I'm here. I took your cookies and I'm eating them.
Right. Definitely. I think another thing, and just going back to your comment in regards to, being counted out and, that spanning into corporate America also, I think for me, like that even goes back to why I even created my podcast. As a journalist, every newsroom that you step in predominantly does not look like me, right? So the types of stories that you see on the news, the journalists in these newsrooms, I told somebody the other day, and we were talking about something in regards to police. These police officers don't live in the communities that they police, and they didn't grow up around the people that they are policing. So how do you expect for them to know how to have a conversation or treat someone when they haven't put themselves in those situations to know, this is how they maneuver, or just behaviors and things like that. I think it's a trickle down effect, and it trickles down on us in every facet of life. We're always going to be counted out. They're always going to look at us a certain type of way and think that we're inferior or that we don't belong. And when he said that just told me that he didn't watch, that he wasn't watching. And I think a lot of the comments that you saw yesterday, especially from like Doug Gottlieb, I used to like him. I didn't know he was so racist.
Listen, man, I absolutely cannot stand Doug Gottlieb. I started watching Colin Cowherd because of him, and I think he's just a prick, man. Will Kane, all of these little smugs. It's just these guys they're good old boys, man. And I'm sitting here like Doug Gottlieb went through freaking a credit card fraud scandal in college because his folks had money. They were able to get him out of trouble, and here you got a platform, and you're sitting there, and you're judging people like, come on, man, be a little bit more humble. But to your point, you just keep bringing up. We had a show, I want to say probably around last year, talking about HBCUs being, will we start to see more? This is before Coach Prime, where we want to see more of the big athletes return back to HBCUs. We talked about how they're being a safe haven. You remember this. This happened in Jackson recently. Because to your point, and I'm not off when I say this. We had a young man who was having I would say a mental breakdown. Man had an assault rifle that he had in his hand. I think this happened in the city of Jackson.
Yep, I saw that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he was approaching the officers. But his fellow African American police officer allowed him. I know what he was saying. It's pointed down. It's pointed down like I'm not a threat. Basically, you know daggone well, man, that if that would have been in another situation, we'd be talking about. So for them to show the restraint and the compassion that was needed in that situation. Now, by all means, policing is a difficult job from my perspective, and I'm not a police officer. My heart goes out to him. I doff my hat out to him. It's a job that has to be done, but that warmed my heart up to see them, if they made an arrest or whatever the case may be, to do that in a manner in which no life was lost, no bullets were fired, no mama. You know, mama would much rather talk to you through the glass window than to have to plan out your burial. Believe you me. Trust me when I say that, you know. So I think it's just with anything that is not a part of the social construct that we live within.
Right.
We know what this country was founded upon, man. It was founded upon genocide, and I'm not trying to get in all that. It is what it is, man. And I'm not trying to be controversial. And we got to stop saying that we're being controversial just when we tell our truth.
Exactly.
Because when we don't get a chance to tell our truth, we allow these other folks to slap us in the face and kick us in the teeth when it's convenient for them. And it's like, no, man, we got a story to tell. And it's like, you know, I don't want to focus on the divisive side of our community. We got a lot of healing that needs to take place in our community, man. But when it comes to your point in corporate America, it just kind of is what it is, man. That's one of the things I love about what we've seen lately with the rise of African American entrepreneurs taking advantage of this social media. This is a social media information age we live in, and people are able to monetize their circumstances and change their lives and not have to deal with that. Believe you me, man, I got a phenomenal career, but I have it has been many a day that I have been like, man, I want to just tell these folks, man, y'all can have this because of what I have to deal with.
Definitely.
And then when I try to explain to you what I'm dealing with, I got to use the right words. We get words like aggressive and all these other things that come. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, no, I'm just frustrated and I'm passionate about my work ethic, you know, my stuff. And it's with anything, man. It's with anything. But I don't take days off. When I see left-handed comments, man, I've gotten a lot better because I realized that, you know, being a part of Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club, it is endorsed by the university. I never ever want to misrepresent the university in any kind of way, shine a negative light. But man, come on, bro. Some stuff you just be wanting to just go in, man. Be like, man.
Definitely.
My goodness.
But I think for Jim Nagy to have said that, it just kind of made me wonder. You have a head coach who's a Hall of Famer. You have a staff who have played in the NFL as well. So when I kind of thought about it to myself, I was just like, and I don't even know if Jim Nagy even played in the NFL, but I think I'm gonna roll with the opinion of the Hall of Famer and the staff around him rather than someone who just has a title of being the director of the Senior Bowl. So with the amount of connections and stuff that Prime has, personally, I think Keontae is a pro. I think Warren Newman is a fringe pro. James is absolutely a pro. Aubrey is absolutely a pro.
Antoine Owens.
Antoine Owens is a pro.
Keith Corbin.
Oh, he's absolutely a pro. Definitely.
I
tweeted something the other day. I was watching the Bears game the other night. I said, shoot, they can definitely use Keith Corbin, and I forgot who else I I included, but I definitely included him. He's absolutely a pro. Sure hand. Can't beat it.
Absolutely.
And then another thing that really made it lazy, these people, these guys have transferred from FBS programs. You're not finna tell me that they don't have next level ability. So I think it
was intentional. I felt like it was intentional. I'll say it like this, and this is what I try to tell people. Communication is a very vital thing that we do each and every day, whether it's verbal or nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with adults in a information age like we live in right now, usually when communication is kind of like stifled or whatever the case may be, it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at the words and tell what was said that it was intentional, because at the same time you kind of told on yourself, because you had to acknowledge the year that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to acknowledge the year that we had, the most historic signing class, to follow that up with, in a little while maybe they'll start having draftable players. So that's the key word, is draftable, not pros, but kids that they might want to draft.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I am just so happy that Coach Prime decided to do what it is that he's doing. And it was just a match made in heaven, because it wasn't. This is why Coach Prime is so special. Man, Coach Prime is loved. He's beloved. Absolutely. He was beloved before he got to Jackson State. And to some people, man, because of his character and integrity over the years and what he stood for, he can't do no wrong. And to some, and I gotta say it, man. And I don't mean this in a negative way. There's a lot of powerful white people that love Coach Prime, man.
Absolutely.
It just is what it is, man. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm saying you need that.
Exactly.
Because I remember when Coach Prime first got hired, and he was taking pictures with people from the state of Mississippi that we weren't too fond of. We was like, Coach, Coach, what you doing, man? But at the same time, I'm like, time out. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. We can't sit up there and do that, because we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We go to work every day sometimes, and we deal with the such and such that might be in that person that you may like. That's why you got, maturity. It matters to be mature, and really professionally mature. Business, from a business standpoint, this is business at the end of the day. Man, you can't go up there and pop off every day. You can't pop off about everything. Man, you ain't never gonna be able to feed your family and take care of yourself, because you're gonna get fired, man.
Definitely.
So if you can go and deal with some, oh man, don't even get me started, man. People, I'm just saying, man, we say we believers. He came with the slogan, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about belief is gonna go back to a spiritual foundation for most.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about that, the most read book in the world is the Bible. So when you talk about that, man, if you read it and you see it and you talk about the Messiah, Christ, whoever you worship, man, listen, he wasn't hanging out with those that loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He went to those that didn't really fool with him, because in order to provoke change, you got to go where it's uncomfortable, man. And Coach Prime done went to the uncomfortable area. Hey, man, he's knocking them down left and right.
Definitely.
So I'm just saying, man. And I got in trouble on that same podcast show when I likened Coach Prime to. It was an allegory. I'm just saying it was. I said, I'm not saying this man is Christ. Nothing like that. Don't get my words twisted. I'm saying we went from rags to riches, man, in a matter of overnight. This is what we've been saying amongst our chat. We say, man, we hit the lottery, man. It's like the Powerball. For HBCUs, not just for Jackson State, because in order for it to really stick, we want to see HBCUs elevate, and that's what he said. Even that part, when Coach Prime said HBCU, we like, no, Coach, you got to say Jackson State. But then it goes back to what we originally said at the beginning of the show. Coach Prime has forced all of us to elevate our way of thinking. Remember, he said many of us have had our cars parked for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Yep. We got to change our thought process. And as we elevate our thinking, hey, man, the higher you go, the wilder this thing becomes to you. You gotta be able to learn how to navigate, man, because you can't change it overnight. Travis Hunter signing with Jackson State ain't gonna change the whole, but it can start. It can be it's a profound moment in the beginning of change. Thanks be to NIL, because that is powerful, man. That's a game changer. So yeah, man.
Look, I know you got to get out of here. Give me a score for the weekend, and we'll wrap it up there.
I say it like this, man. Shout out to those Jackson State Tigers, man, the 2021 SWAC champs, and shout out to South Carolina State Bulldogs, man, the 2021 MEAC champs. You know, with all due respect to those Bulldogs, man, we coming to get our trophy, man. Take it back to the SIP, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you know what? And I know they feel the same way. But you know, we many have tried, you know, but not many have succeeded. So, I look at it like this: football is a game of matchups. You know, I've watched a lot of film on South Carolina State. I think Coach Buddy Pugh is an absolute HBCU coaching legend. He is South Carolina State. If you hadn't had a chance, tune in to Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club podcast. We had a preview of the show where we had one of their information guys on with Corey, and they broke down and really he highlighted Coach Buddy Pugh. I learned a lot from that. So my score, I would say, you know, I would say this week on Saturday, we're not going to get off to a slow start like we sometimes have done. I think we've had a couple of weeks to iron the kinks out, to tweak a few things, to get the offense going. From a matchup standpoint, I think after Shador had a bad SWAC championship game, I think Shador is going to come out and light it up on Saturday, man. So I'm going to say, oh, man, I'm going to say Jackson State wins 45-14.
I was thinking something similar.
I listen. I know, because I don't think this game's gonna be close, and I don't mean that in disrespect to, because everybody like, man, South Carolina State. I said Jackson State ain't played but one complete game all season. What happens when we get our stuff together? What happens when we come to play? What happens when we motivate?
Exactly.
Hey, man, I expect us to go out and, especially after yesterday, we can't have a day like yesterday and go lay an egg. I think you're gonna see. We're going to go out there and we're going to look good. We're going to feel good. We're going to play good so they can get paid good, like Coach Prime said. I think it's going to be absolute domination, man. And that's with all due respect. I can respect you and still tell you we're going to dominate you. That's all love.
Absolutely.
Go Tigers, man. Hey, but Tyler, man. Hey, man. I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. All the best to you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep fighting a good fight. And, you know, congratulations to your show, man. I wish you all the best, man.
I appreciate it. Make sure you shout everybody out again. Let the people know where they can find you. So, also.
All right, Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club. We're on all major podcast outlets. We're on all social media. It's Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club. That's 1400 Club spelled with a K, K-L-U-B. And like I said, we have an IG page that's active. We also have a 1400 Club IG and Twitter and Facebook page. So, follow us, man, on Facebook, on IG, as well as on Twitter. A lot of great content, a lot of great shows. Anything that's happening, we're geared towards Jackson State, but Corey did a phenomenal job with the previews this year, man. Before every single game, he reached out and had someone from the opposing team to come on the show and talk, and that's it. That's a beautiful idea, and it worked marvelously this season. So. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to Mike B, my boy Zoe, Shaq, you know, Greg, Thad, all of it, man. Said the whole 1400 Club family. And shout out to Jackson State, A.D. Robinson, Coach Prime, and staff, and the players, man. Let's get this dub. Let's get the Celebration Bowl, and let's take that thing back to the Jack and keep building, man. All love.
Hey, let's do it. Ken, I appreciate your time, brother. Take care. We definitely be in contact, man.
All right, brother. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.
Hey, this has been another episode of the SIPmyTHOUGHTS podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. I'm on social media on all platforms. SIPmyTHOUGHTS everywhere. Twitter, Facebook. Also, I created a new podcast page specifically for my pod. So if you could follow me at the SIPmyTHOUGHTS Pod. I'm actually live on Instagram right now on that page. So again, on IG, you can follow me on IG at SIPmyTHOUGHTS, which is my personal page. I'm separating my personal page from my podcast page. So my podcast page is the SIPmyTHOUGHTS. Hey man, really dope episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. Until next time. Peace.